violin, chin rest, tailpiece, fine tuners, bridge, F holes, neck, fingerboard, tuning pegs, peg box, the scroll, button, and I have a shoulder rest. This is my violin. This is where I put my chin. E, A, D, G are the 4 strings, and the F holes let it ring. Here's the front and here's the back. If I drop it, it might crack. So I hold it close beside me, rest position, now you see. Button here, tailpiece there, bridge and fingerboard right here. Pegs help keep my strings in tune. Peg box holds the peg so firm. Mr. Scroll is dressed his best, looking down on all the rest. Here's the bow, and now I'll show. Play position 1, 2, 3, 1. Or, if I'm sitting, do sitting today. 2. Turn and plop. Three. That is a tune called Lightly Row, and the words to that are This Is My Violin. I should find out who wrote the words to that so I can credit them. I know it has to do with an instructional video. I saw a group, I think out of Alaska, that had a paper violin project. This group that made, had a bunch of little kids making paper violins, very ornate, accurately made violins with kite string and everything. So they learn all the parts and then sing that song. So that's a really good one. I like it. Hello. So I'm going to be teaching fiddling basics today and talk about just a couple of things. Okay, the bow. If you're a small child, generally, the advice from the experts is to start this way. However, if you're a seasoned symphony musician, all grown up and everything, you're probably going to be playing in here, actually. So there's not just one grip, there's not just one bow grip. There are a few ways that you can grip it. And that's one thing. It has to do with the gross motor skills, the ability to just basically, you don't want to clutch it like a fist, okay? You want to do like rabbit ears, rabbit chomps the carrot and everything like that. Most violin and fiddle teachers have their students start with that until they get to a certain point, and then they introduce this grip. And but I've known some really great fiddle players who actually went back to this grip because they thought that was better, and still played remarkably anyway. Some fiddler players, some fiddlers might even hold it up here for more balanced, kind of closer to the middle. I've seen that. So it's up to you, especially if you're a fiddle player. Do it how you want. Don't listen to him too much. But try to play correctly. You don't want to have this going on. You don't want to have that going on. You want the elbow to be floating along with the positions, those jumps there. So assuming you can, get a bow in your hand and you can get into playing position, what we're going to do is some very basic warm-ups that anyone can do, regardless of skill level. And this is, we're going to practice whole notes. Then we're going to practice half notes and quarter notes and eighth notes. So a whole note, if you're going to clap it or sing it, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold a note for 4 counts. If you're clapping, you might go 1, 2, 3, 4, holding the hands together to represent holding the note. And if you are playing the string with the bow, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's quite a challenge. If you've never played before, just that alone is a challenge. You're going to want to, you can't really start, at the tip. Go 1, 2, 3. You're going to run out. So you have to have a little bit of thinking, a little bit of pre-planning, okay? And then, so you go, I'm going to take, remember we call this the frog. This is the frog part of the bow. And this is the tip part of the bow. So we're going to, if I'm going to do a down bow, I'm going towards the frog. If I'm going to do an up bow, I'm going towards the tip. Okay, so if I am going to play a down bow, I'm going to start near the frog on the E string, and I'm going to count for 4 beats. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you might give yourself a little bit of a count off before you even do that, to know how fast you want it to be or whatever. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's faster, but it's still a whole note because it's still 4 beats, right? We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna keep the bow in motion, and after 4, we're just gonna stop. All right? So let's go, and we could get into playing position, do a little helicopter. That's a good one to do, and have it land on the landing pad. Let's see if that's straight. Let's see. Okay. And we're gonna go. We're gonna count to 4, then we're gonna play for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of times when I teach, I'm gonna use the words ready, go. So I might go 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're gonna do an up bow also for 4. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we're gonna do a down bow, then an up bow. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 4 whole notes. So a whole note gets 4 counts, and we're gonna do 4 of them. That's gonna be a down, then an up, then another down, then another up. Let's get ready. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can do that. Let's just do that without counting out loud. Just count in our heads. 1, 2. Okay, and now we're going to do half notes. So a half note gets 2 counts. If you're clapping, you're gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And if we're playing fiddle, we're gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so I'm gonna do 4 half notes now. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and now a quarter note. So a quarter note's just gonna go 1. Okay, 1 beat. 1, 1, 1. When I'm playing quarter notes, that's usually what I'm tapping my foot to. Okay, that is the tempo. And you're marching along. Quarter notes march along at the tempo. 1, 1. They get 1 count. I'm not going to start it as close to the bow unless I want to stay at the bow. So I'm going to start it a little bit more in the middle this time. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay? So we have whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and now eighth notes. Eighth notes are going to be split notes. It's going to be a half of a beat. So it's going to be 1 and. In order just to go from 1 to 2, we got to put 2 notes in there now. We go 1 and. Ready, go. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. Okay, I'm going to start more in the middle of the bow. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. Just do a whole bunch of those. Loosey-gooseys. Loosey, because you don't want to get too stiff. Well, you want to keep things straight, but eighth notes give a little kind of motion, you know. 1, so loosey-gooseys. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now we're going to do a series of whole notes followed by half notes, then quarter notes, and then eighth notes. And this is an exercise that we do all the time in the Simply Strings. I saw Christina was watching, so a little shout out to Christina from Simply Strings program, where I learned a lot of orchestral stuff. This is an orchestral warm-up that we do a lot. We're gonna do 4 whole notes, 4 half notes, 4 quarter notes, and then I like to do 8 eighth notes at that point. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second whole note, 2, 3. Third whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now half notes, 1, 2. Second one, third one, fourth one. Now quarter notes, eighth notes. Okay, and you can switch to the A string, and you can switch to the D string and the G string. When you do that, you're going to want to lift the elbow. We're not going to do that right now. It'll take more time to actually do that. Also, if you're a beginner, I recommend sticking with the E string because it's a little bit more like the down ups that you're practicing. So, okay, but let's try, another good one for setting the bow on the strings I heard is tick, tock, land, and stop. So tick, tock, land, and stop. And then what I'm going to do is tilt the bow to the A string. And we are going to do it on the A string now. Okay? So we're going to do the series of whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, but on the A string. Okay? First of all, stop on the E string. Make sure we're straight. I'm going to tilt to the A. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Third whole note. And the fourth whole note. Half notes. 1, 2, 1, 2. Quarter notes. Eighth notes. Also the eighth notes, you can think, see you later, alligator, which I learned from Robin. Hi, Robin. Saw you watching. See you later, alligator, or jellyfishy, jellyfishy, which is another one, kind of like the loosey-goosey. It kind of helps if you're just feeling things are a little too stiff. You might want to do some jellyfishy, jellyfishy. But make sure everything is straight. Make sure you have everything correct before you loosen up like that, you know. It's really a lot about thinking about what you're doing, getting into position as best you can, and then just playing and trying to go for it. Okay, so beginning fiddling. Now, so I talked about the violin, sang this violin song, warm-ups. Today I also want to talk about fiddle books a little bit. I have a collection here, and I want to talk about things that might help you get started. One is if you get something like this, what I have lying around, that is a violin method book that starts with the basics. Okay, they usually look kind of like this, just a bunch of quarter notes. If you read music, hopefully you know that those are quarter notes or eighth notes, half notes, whole note exercises, learning the strings, the open strings, gradually, then learning the fingers. Here, finger 1 is your F sharp note. You'll have series of exercises that look like that, you know. This is standard instrument stuff. You know, if you're learning the piano, if you're learning the trumpet, I don't care what you're learning. If you're learning and you're going to be reading music at all, then you're going to be going through a book that is written sort of like this. It could be this one, it could be any number of them. But I really recommend them to just get started checking out the very, very basics of reading music. In fact, let's see. I'll use this time to show you how they're written a lot of times. Let's see, what do we have here? This, see? Those are your strings. This is my violin. This is where I put my chin. E, A, D, G are the 4 strings. So that little symbol there represents your strings. And then this is called the nut. It's another little thing that wasn't in the song, but this is called the nut. And then they'll show you, let's see, I'm going to show you on this page right here where the note E is. So E, and it's in the very top space of the music staff, okay? That's a whole note. Which goes for 4 beats. In our exercise, that was the first one that we did. We did the whole notes. And let's see here. The E note, right there, is in the very top space. Very top space of the music staff. That's how you know it's an E. If you see that, then you know I'm going to play an E note, and because it was not filled in and there was no stem, because of the shape of the note, we know that it's a whole note, which goes for 4 counts. So that note that I just pointed to is going to sound like this. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So I recommend getting this book or some other book that is a standard method book for violin. And over the course of each week, since I'm teaching this beginning class every week, I'm going to spend a lot of time just playing through some of these books. So I'll maybe get a list going of these books, and then, I'll say, okay, today we're doing exercise 5, and we'll play that. But right now I'm just going to introduce some different concepts about learning that you don't have to learn, like you don't have to wait till week 10 to learn this, even though it might be different from what I taught you in the previous week. Next order of business is a fiddle book, or something that is, actually this is a violin book. It's not really a fiddle book, but it is written by a fiddle player, and it is meant to also introduce fiddling too. This book called The O'Connor Violin Method, written by Mark O'Connor. Maybe you know about him. He is a phenomenal virtuoso fiddle player who started off as a child winning fiddle contests, blazing it up, and just blowing everyone's minds and playing this really great stuff. He's so good, and great guitar player, mandolin player, and went on to play with everybody. Bill Monroe, David Grisman, and all. Mark O'Connor is someone that we admire greatly. Usually we admire him. Most fiddle players admire him greatly. I do. And he wrote this book. It's this big series of books. It's got 10 volumes or something. You can learn a lot of the Mark O'Connor stuff. And he talks about the way he approaches this book. You're not going to want to get it if you're not going to start with it necessarily if you've never played before. You're going to want to have a teacher that probably helps you get through this, even to start on the first exercise. But you don't have to know much. It does start from the very basics, and it starts with Boil Them Cabbage Down, which is cool because that's a lot of times the first tune that fiddle teachers introduce to our students. And his is Variation 1. He actually, through the course of his books, he goes through a whole bunch of different variations of Boil Them Cabbage Down. And so I'm not really going to teach Boil Them Cabbage Down right now, but I will play the Mark O'Connor version, maybe the first few variations, the way that he teaches it. And he uses the Mississippi down, up, Mississippi down, up. This is something that a lot of Suzuki teachers use. It's very classic. Mississippi down, up, or you say, I'm a little monkey, I'm a little monkey, right? So you get used to that rhythm and play it. And Mark O'Connor actually introduces Boil Them Cabbage Down with that rhythm. Now, most people would say Boil Them Cabbage Down, really the kind of most basic way is with the shuffle bow. You know, because being that it's a fiddle tune, that has that fiddle sound. But I think Mark O'Connor, I think the reason he did this is it kind of would tie into the way a lot of Suzuki teachers teach. A lot of people who are not as familiar with fiddling, they might be more used to this Mississippi down, up, or I'm a little monkey rhythm. So he actually starts with that as being the first Boil Them Cabbage Down. That's the first variation in the Mark O'Connor book. And then second variation is actually just, a whole bunch of eighth notes. Those are those see you later alligators, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and jellyfishy, however you want to think about it. And variation 2 is and then, what does he do? Variation 3. By the time you get to variation 3, that's the big stuff. Then you're ready for right? Okay, so that is Boil Them Cabbage Down, done the Mark O'Connor way. In future lessons, I'll be talking, we'll be playing through that book more. I think those are the two most basic books I have lying around. I have some other fun ones too. This is La Hoogie Boogie. It's like a Cajun music for children, written by Sharon Doucet. Not really a fiddle method, but it's got some tunes on the easier side. I'll talk about this thing right here, because this is what I actually made. And gosh, all my mentors seem to, I see Susanna, hi. because I worked with a school teacher who's tuning in, and I remember when I worked for her as a teacher's aide, and really learned the value of making your own supplies for your class, for your students. Making your own songbooks, making your own books. There's something, it's fun, it's crafty, it's personal. It's just, I figured, well, a lot of these books, they have these, they're appealing to children because they have illustrations, right? Lots of pictures, and that's very good. But kids, they like to draw, they like art. Might as well just make your own binder. So when my students come in for the first lesson, I usually get them set up with something that we can add to throughout the lessons. These are really good because, you can put some paper in there and you can make the front page your own. I usually tell the kids, draw their instrument, draw themselves playing their instrument, draw something that inspires them. Write, violin, write your name on it, write your violin book 1. Do that, even before you buy a store-bought book. Get used to just having your own book that you're making as you go. So I've had that in my teaching for a long time. And then I started to get more formal about it, kind of like designing these books that are over time more pre-made. This one I thought of, okay, here's 20 tunes for beginning violin. And I decided, this isn't the best copy of it. But I have another one. It's kind of bare. But you'll see I use colored paper. Usually I'll have a whole rainbow of different colors. Just kind of makes it more visually fun to look at than black and white. And then I'll write down just the names of the strings. And then the finger number. And I'll usually use a lot of songs that are very familiar and already in your head, so that is not a struggle. So there's kind of 2 streams that I'm talking about today of multiple streams of getting started. One is like this sort of thing we talked about, looking at the notes and thinking, okay, is that a whole note? Is that a quarter note? What string does it start on? Is it, do I have to put a finger down? All of that thinking stuff. You're looking at it and you're trying to figure out what it is, having never heard it. That's the important thing. Having never heard it, you're learning how to play stuff you've never heard with this type of book. Okay? But in order to be a musician, in order to be a good musician, any accomplished musician would tell you, you've also got to learn how to play what's in your head. And you've got to learn music and make it alive in your head. Start to hear stuff. Memorizing songs, for example, or being able to sing a scale. Taking what's in your head and being able to play it. With this type of thing, usually what I'll do is just make it really easy for the students so they don't have to think a lot about what they're looking at. They can see, okay, it's on the E string and it's the second finger and I know what it sounds like. So that type of thing I set them up with is a big collection of songs that they can learn in that first year, or in that beginning phase. They can learn a lot of songs that aren't going to be a struggle to memorize. And, if I'm introducing some super awesome fiddle tune that's the best fiddle tune ever, but they've never heard it, it's going to take a lot longer to teach. That's the bottom line. We want to speed up that learning process, right? without skipping steps. So, since this is a beginner series, I'm talking about that. And you know, you can get, maybe I'll print out some or post on my page. I'll post some of the pages I have that are just the strings and the fingers, so you can see the visual aid. But I'll go through the ones that are typical in there. Starting with hot cross buns. You can practice switching to the A string. Okay, we can do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, although that one gets done so much, I'm going to skip that for now. Brother John. You have a lot of fun playing that as a round and everything too. Speaking of rounds, row, row, row your boat. Try playing it quietly. Or loud. Oh, Susanna. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Lots. You Are My Sunshine. And then you got your Boil 'em Cabbage Down, your old Joe Clark's, your those fiddle tunes, those basic fiddle tunes. But I like to also actually lead up to those with a lot of classic American stuff, children's songs. Let's see, multicultural children's songs even, like this one, Un Elefante. This is an Irish polka that I usually put in that beginning series. It's called Egan's Polka. Folk songs like Mole in the Ground. Wish I was a mole in the ground. I wish I was a mole in the ground. As a mole in the ground, I would root that mountain down. Wish I was a mole in the ground. Choo-choo. I wish I was a lizard in the spring. I wish I was a lizard in the spring. As a lizard in the spring, I would hear my darling sing. I wish I was a lizard in the spring. Alrighty, so yeah, thanks. A lot of people are tuning in today, so it's really good to see people are watching. My series is just, I'm kind of fumbling about getting it started, and but I'm really excited, to just have this format to keep progressing, and to talk about these different books too, different people's books. If you know of any books that you think that I should review or talk about, play a couple of excerpts from, if you've written a book, maybe let me know and send me a free copy. And I'll talk about it on my program. beginning fiddle, the fiddling, what do I call it? Fiddling basics. These are fiddling basics, which also include violin basics. What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin? It is a fiddle if you play it. It's a violin if you're trying to sell it. So, okay. Now, I think what I'm going to do for the end, the last part of the program, last 15 minutes, is really for more advanced beginners. Anyone who wants to just take a romp through some beginning fiddle tunes. Even if you've never played before or whatever, this is good stuff because, it's really good to hear the tunes, how they go, the true way. I'll try to just play them in a way that's not too fancy and not too crazy. So, and, cover tunes that you are going to want to learn. So let's see, I'm going to start with Old Joe Clark in the key of A. by Betsy Brown. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, I'm gonna leave this town. Okay, Old Joe Clark in A, and I actually played that a lot in G too. So I'll do it in G a little bit. Oh, and actually, let's see, talk about this a little bit. There's the old time version, there's the bluegrass version. So the old time version, in the second part, we do that. Bluegrass version, you go to the F chord. The old time version, you go to the D, the 5 chord. Bluegrass version, you go to the F. That's technical talk for the guitar players. You don't have to know what it means if you're a fiddle player. You actually kind of do. But I'm just telling you, I'm going to actually play this more old Joe. This is going to be Old Joe Clark, but more the Kenny Hall style. Jog along, old Joe Clark, goodbye Betsy Brown. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, I'm gonna leave this town. Well, that's maybe a little bit off the beaten track of what I was trying to do, just a bunch of different easy or fiddle tunes, kind of. That was kind of a mini lesson in Old Joe Clark. But I felt like it had some splaining to do, that one. So I'll play some other standard tunes. This is called Liberty. Angeline the Baker. Here's Mississippi Sawyer. Golden Slippers. end it there. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a good day. Tune in later. I'll save the video. Anyone you know that is interested in fiddling, let them know about my channel, and have a great day. Bye.